As a non-binary person, I know that there are a lot of things that I wish people knew about what it's like being non-binary. So today I'm going to be talking about some of those things that non-binary people wish you knew about what it was like being non-binary. I asked my community over on Instagram, Threads, and my YouTube community tab what they wish people knew about being non-binary and what it's like. So all of these comments are straight from non-binary people or under the non-binary umbrella, and what they wish people knew about what it's like being non-binary. But before we get into the video, I just want to remind you to like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell. It would really help out to grow this channel and bring more awareness to LGBTQ+ topics that don't really get talked about a lot. I would absolutely adore it. I'm trying to get to 20,000 subs by the end of this month, so please, please, please subscribe. And let's get into the video. The first thing that non-binary people wish you knew was that being non-binary doesn't always mean between man and woman. Sometimes it's both or neither. So this is why non-binary is an umbrella term, because there are a whole bunch of identities and labels, and there's a whole bunch of gendery stuff that goes under the label of non-binary. Like this person said, non-binary isn't necessarily like woman is here, man is here, and non-binary is like in the middle. It can be somewhere between these two. It could be one day I'm a man, one day I'm a woman, and it can also be out here in the void where man and woman don't exist. So it really is a spectrum. It's an umbrella term, and it is definitely something. It's not like in between man and woman. It's everything and nothing and a whole bunch of stuff. So yeah, definitely something that people who are non-binary wish you knew, because it's a very common misconception that it doesn't solely exist as white, thin, soft, masculine people, that there are a lot of intersections between non-binary existence and disability. So this is something that doesn't really get talked about a whole lot because, well, we live in a world that is set up to prop up white, thin, able-bodied men, which is why most of the representation that people see of non-binary is of thin, white, able-bodied, more masculine presenting non-binary people. But this is not all there is to being non-binary. These are not the only people who are non-binary. There are lots and lots of people of color who are somewhere on the non-binary spectrum. Just because you don't see them as much as people who look like me does not mean they don't exist, and does not mean that you shouldn't go looking for people who are outside of your experience. You should always be trying to learn more about how other people experience the gender binary. This comment came from my lovely patron, and if you want to support me, please check out my Patreon down below. It helps me make more videos like this. They said, excellent topic. What I'd like people to know. Gender expression and gender identity don't need to match. You can, e.g., look male but be non-binary. Again, I think this is something that a lot of people kind of assume about the general non-binary population in general, that we all just want to look as androgynous as possible, not look either like a man or a woman. Not all non-binary people have the same goal with how they transition. There are some people who are completely okay with changing their name and their pronouns and socially transitioning, and that makes them feel comfortable. Other people want to go on hormones or get surgeries or do different things to help them feel more comfortable to lessen their gender dysphoria. It is okay to look like one of the binary genders and still be a valid non-binary person, especially because we do go through a world where a lot of people will look at you and just assume you're either a man or a woman, and that's it. So I know for me, I completely know how people see me and perceive me in society. I get misgendered all the time. I get that. However, I personally feel more comfortable when I am coming off a little bit more androgynous, but that's just me. I know there are plenty of non-binary people who want to look more like a woman or a man, and that's what makes them feel comfortable, and everything in between. So yes, you can look like a binary gender, but still be non-binary. And just because someone doesn't quote-unquote look non-binary does not mean that you should not respect their name and pronoun changes. Stop that. Literally respect people. The next thing non-binary people wish you knew is not all NBs are the same. Everyone is different in name, pronoun, identity. but all are valid. This is something that I definitely think needs to be talked about more. I know that there are a lot of people that will assume things when I tell them that I'm non-binary and expect me to be a certain way, but every non-binary person is different, just like every person on this planet is different. So when you want to learn about a new non-binary person who's coming into your life, ask their name, ask their pronouns, ask their identity, if they're comfortable sharing that stuff with you. It is totally fine to ask questions as long as beforehand you ask, hey, I have a question about non-binary. Is it okay that I ask you that right now? And if they say no, back off. It can genuinely be exhausting sometimes to feel like you have to educate everyone on your identity, so sometimes non-binary people aren't in the mood to educate. Most of the time, if you're asking a genuine question with genuine curiosity and trying to be respectful, we will answer your questions. If you're coming off rude, no one wants to answer a rude person, so I feel like that makes sense. But yeah, all non-binary people are different. All non-binary people are valid. This next comment came from one of my favorite non-binary and asexual content creators, Ace Dad Advice, and they said, it's something you can be at any age, even if you arrive there later in life. You can be your own non-binary identity no matter how old you are. This. I feel like, again, this is another common misconception that being non-binary or discovering that you're non-binary is like a young person thing, which I don't understand. There have been so many cultures and religions and people like thousands and thousands of years ago that have acknowledged genders that are outside of being a man and being a woman, so it doesn't really make sense to me. But you can literally find out that you're non-binary at any age. It's not just people who are in their teenage years or early 20s. People in their 40s, 50s, 60s have commented on my videos and been like, thank you so much for putting this out. I've only recently discovered that I might be non-binary or am non-binary. And it's such a beautiful thing because you're always learning about yourself. You can always find out new things about who you are as a human being. I think it's wonderful. I think it's such a beautiful thing. Being non-binary has no age limit. There is no correct way to present as non-binary. Enjoying an external presentation that leans towards a stereotypical masculine or feminine presentation does not invalidate a non-binary identity. Enjoy what you enjoy. Gender presentation is a playground, not a rule book. I think this is a very meaningful comment because a lot of people who are non-binary feel guilty for the things that they like to wear, and it needs to stop. Mostly what I'm saying needs to stop is other people judging them and saying they're not non-binary enough depending on what clothes they wear, which is dumb, but I digress. For me, it's really silly to judge someone's gender purely based on the clothes that they wear. I personally don't understand how cis men can get complimented and even praised for wearing dresses and feminine things, while AFAB people who identify a bit more masculinely but then are like, I like to wear feminine clothes, get hated on and told that they're a trender or they're not really non-binary or they're not really trans. And I think it's absolutely ridiculous that one person can do it and it'd be completely fine and another person does it and their whole gender is invalidated because of it. Make it make sense. Clothes are just clothes. It is the thing that we adorn our bodies with. It doesn't matter what you wear, you are still non-binary. And if anyone else tells you otherwise, I'm gonna give them a little smack. The next thing non-binary people wish you knew is, please do not use our jokes if you're going to infantilize us or act like they're your jokes to make. As funny as it can be to joke about stuff like how non-binary sometimes choose funny names, please do not assume everyone is okay with stereotypes or being teased. Same with the go, they, them, go joke that was spread a while back. Names and pronouns can be very personal choices, and it takes no effort to just not comment if you aren't 100% sure someone is okay with it. If you can't do that, you do not truly respect non-binary people and subconsciously see us as a spectacle or something to make fun of instead of a real person who just doesn't identify with the man-woman gender binary. Literally this. I know one of the very first things when I saw more non-binary people coming out, and specifically Ash Hardell when they first got their top surgery, a lot of people were saying, oh, they're trying to infantilize themselves, they're trying to look like a little kid, all that jazz. And people were doing it in their comments too, infantilizing them and not treating them as if they were a fully functioning adult who was making a decision to make themselves happy. It's a very common thing for non-binary people to get infantilized, to get hate comments, to get teased, to get the go, they, them, go, to get those kind of things said to us. And it's really not okay. If you wouldn't do it to a cis person, why would you do it to us? We are literally adults. Well, a lot of us are adults. I'm an adult, and I don't appreciate that shit. It honestly just feels so gross, and it's just like, why are you saying this stuff? It's not okay. Like, yeah, it's an inside joke for a lot of non-binary people that we pick really weird names, or we have like very specific aesthetics that we all kind of like, and that's just like our community thing. And like this person said, not everyone is okay with people outside of the community like teasing them that way or bringing that kind of stuff up. So again, ask the non-binary people in your life what they're okay with and what they're not, so that you can be as respectful as possible. And that's that. It's just all about let's respect each other and who we are, and that's about it. And the last thing that non-binary people wish you knew is, being NB, I have a hard time feeling comfortable taking up space in the trans community even though I'm trans. This is untrue imposter syndrome talking. I feel like me being non-binary and calling myself trans isn't valid because so many other trans folks go through so much and have experienced more pain in their transitions, etc. Also, calling myself trans and people automatically asking, are you a man or a woman? Or my personal favorite, you passed so well, I would have never thought you were born a boy. Okay, that's all. Thanks for reading. Bye. Thank you so much, Lynn, for your comment. I absolutely adore them, and I will link their Instagram down below. Honestly, I think this comment is one of the more important things to talk about. I know so many non-binary people, including myself, have imposter syndrome when it comes to being in the trans community. It took me about 3 or 4 years to comfortably actually call myself trans, even though I've been trans my whole life. Literally can look back and be like, oh my god, even as a child I was trying so hard to find the words to be like, hey yo, I'm not the gender I was assigned at birth, someone please let me have the words to describe what I'm feeling, because I am not a woman. And it's such a hard thing to go through, because as non-binary people, we have the trans community that there's a pretty vocal group that distinctly does not want us in the community whatsoever and hates on us a lot. And then we also have cis people, which we are not part of, and also hates on us a lot. So it's kind of like, well, sometimes it feels like the trans community doesn't want us, the cis community definitely doesn't want us. It's just like, well, what the hell? Yeah, no, that's definitely something I've experienced as well when telling people I'm a trans non-binary person, or just non-binary, or I'm just trans. Definitely something that needs to be talked about, and just because you are having that imposter syndrome does not invalidate you or your gender identity or the fact that you are trans and that you do belong in the trans community. I know there are some non-binary folks who don't feel comfortable saying that they're trans, and that's completely valid. But the people who do want to use that label, it's also valid for them to use. So yeah, that's definitely something that I need to reiterate. Non-binary people are trans. We literally are. We transition from one thing to another. We're trans. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments down below what you wish people knew about what it's like being non-binary. I'm sorry that I couldn't get to everyone's comments. I'm also going to be talking about some of them over on Instagram and TikTok and Threads as well. So be sure to follow me there. Or if you want me to do a part 2 to this video, also let me know as well. I love making these kind of videos. I also did one about being asexual, so I'll link that one in the description. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!